in Hockey Town for Maple Leaf America in downtown Detroit. Hold on, get out of here. You're not till next week. This is not your typical half-hour Maple Leaf America. This is the hour special from Los Angeles. I'm outside the Staples Center, the scene for the 2002 NHL All-Star Game. And I'll tell you what, this is a star-studded affair. I'm not talking about the game, I'm talking about this edition, the hour-long edition of Maple Leaf America. We've got Hollywood stars, hockey stars, Leafs alum talking about their careers and also talking about the All-Star Game. I mean, it's unbelievable, and I can't wait to get it started. So come on back for the full 60 minutes of Maple Leaf America from the All-Star Game in Los Angeles. Back on Maple Leaf America, and we're with the captain, Matt Sundin. Hey, that's right, the captain. It's been years now. You were kind of unsure when you first took over, but it's old hat.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it now, I think. You never get used to being the captain for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it's fun. I really enjoy it, and you learn something new every day, too. 7th
All-Star Game. Do you get tired of all the media circus and all the stuff, or is it just a lot of fun?
It is a lot of fun, and I just said it's going to be one day where you won't get an invitation to the All-Star Game, so I'll try to go every time I get an invitation, and it's a lot of fun to get a chance to play with all these great players and skate around and just have a good time.
We're at the All-Star Game, but a lot of the questions have been around the Olympics, obviously, and it's not difficult to look ahead because what a great international tournament it's going to be.
It will be fun, and for hockey fans to see all their favorite players represent their different countries, and it's going to be great for hockey fans all around the world. And you look at Nagano, it was a great tournament and great hockey, and I'm sure this year is going to be the same.
Now, aren't you going to feel bad if Sweden does something to Canada? Here you got all these Leafs fans, all your friends back in Toronto, and you're trying to beat them.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll have Quinn on the other side and Curtis. It's going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be a great competition, and but before and after the game is over, there won't be any problems. And I hope the fans in Toronto will respect it. I'm going to try to do my best for Team Sweden.
Thank you very much, and good luck with that.
Thanks.
And from one outstanding current Leafs forward to a former outstanding Leafs forward. What a Maple Leaf America bonus. A visit to former Leafs winger Jim Pappin when he's being visited by the Mahovliches. The big M, Frank, and his little M brother, Peter.
Jimmy was a good skater, a very fast skater. Good shot, good offensive hockey player, and I think he was a great asset to Chicago with all those years that Chicago had, up to the 1970s.
And Jimmy is a golfer?
Yeah, he's a good golfer. He hits the ball consistently well, and as long as there isn't too much wind, then he has a problem.
Canadian Senator Frank is Pappin's neighbor in Palm Springs for a few weeks each winter. Pete came down to join the golf fray and play in an old-timers game during All-Star Weekend.
I get a lot of practice at this. I could probably grow tomatoes in these things.
To finish the foursome, Jim's wife, Peggy Pappin.
I'm going to take all their money today.
Tough call, Peggy. These boys still put a high priority on winning. In fact, Jim sometimes may take golf a little too seriously.
Do you turn it off if I swear?
Yeah, I'll bleep you out.
Okay.
I won't even use it.
It's hockey talk.
Hockey talk, we call it.
Competitive residue from 14 seasons at hockey's highest level.
When I'm in Canada, I'm a big Toronto Maple Leaf guy. When I'm in the States, in Chicago, I'm a Chicago Blackhawk.
Well, when he's in Toronto, Leafs fans should thank him. Without Pappin, chances are there's no Stanley Cup in 1967. In 12 playoff games, he had a then record 7 goals and 15 points, compared to Conn Smythe Trophy winner Dave Keon's 3 goals and 8 points.
I was the leading scorer, but Dave Keon already put in 7 years in Toronto, and was their best check. I mean, he shut down John Beliveau, Makita, all the big centers. His job, he had to shut them down, and he was probably the biggest reason, why we did win. I mean, you have to score goals to win. I understand that, but Davey Keon understood the game, how to win when he was 20, 21 years old. But Davey Keon's one of my best friends, and Maple Leafs, without him, could have won any of those Stanley Cups. That's how I look at it. They could have traded anybody else off that team, which they did later on with Duff and Nevin and all that stuff. But if they had ever got Davey Keon, they would have never won any of them. So how I look at it is, sure, I might have won the Conn Smythe Trophy, but I'm happy that David did.
By the way, Pappin's 7th goal of the playoffs was the Cup winner.
Pappin with nowhere to go, backhands a shot in front. It's off Pepper's leg and in the net.
I remember carrying the puck over the blue line, and I went on my off wing because I saw Peter Stamkowski go into the net, because Peter was a big fella. You know, he's 215 pounds, and he always went to the front of the net. I knew he was going there. So I just took a wild backhand, actually a pass. I was trying to get it to Peter so he could tip it in or something. And Terry Harper had taken him out, and the puck hit Terry Harper's skate. Peter, to this day, said it hit his skate, but anyway, it hit Terry Harper's skate and ended up going past Worsley to give us a 2-0 lead. They actually did give the goal to Stamkowski at the time, but then when they looked at it later, you know, they changed it. I mean, they changed it like 5 minutes later. But anyway, Peter still wants credit for it, but it's too late now.
For such a successful playoff point producer, fans will discover a highly unusual quirk in the Jim Pappin record book. All 5 years he was in Toronto, he was also sent down to play with American League Rochester.
Punch Imlock and 2 or 3 others owned the Rochester American, owned the franchise. So I think he was a handicapper. He saw that the Leafs weren't going to do well and weren't going to do well in the playoffs. He'd always send Larry Hillman and I down to Rochester because they always kept good teams down there also. So we ended up being lucky. We ended up playing on 3 championship teams in Rochester and 2 in Toronto. So from 63 to 68, I played on 5 championship teams.
5 championships is nice, but playing full-time in the show is even better. Probably the reason Jim was pleased to be traded to Chicago in May of 1968. 7 full-time NHL seasons would follow in the Windy City.
Moments later, Jim Pappin races out of his own end and is about to score on one of the most artistic goals of the playoffs to give Chicago a 1-0 lead. You won't see many like that, so let's see it again.
Dennis Hall is my best friend today. You know, we got along. I played in the same line for 7 years there with Pitt Martin, who's also. We were such a tight, close-knit group. It's a shame we didn't win the Stanley Cup. We got beat by Montreal twice in the finals, but once in 7 games. And I remember more about losing in Chicago than I do about winning in Toronto. That's the strange part of it. You never remember the good times, but you remember when you get beat, because I know it's hard to explain to someone when you lose a 7th game, you know, by 1 goal. It's a tough, you know, that stays with you, your whole life.
The first Stanley Cup that we were on in Montreal together, had it not been for Ken Dryden, I think the game would have been over. Jim Pappin had a great opportunity in the slot area, and Kenny Dryden was kind enough to make the save in the 3rd period when the score was tied 2-2. So it was a big save, and you know, I thank Kenny, and I thank Jimmy for hitting the glove at that time.
Pappin's career wound down with a partial season with the Golden Seals and part of another with Cleveland. In 1977, he hung him up, almost 25 years after his first visit to Maple Leaf Gardens.
Toronto Marbles were playing against Montreal Junior Canadiens, and a coach took us to see a junior game, and I was like 16 years old at the time. And I made up my mind then. I said, you know, they had a packed house, you know, 16,000 people watching junior hockey, and they were only 2 years older than I was. I says, this is what I want to do. And that's why I made up my mind that I'm going to go for it.
Now, Pappy just goes for it on the golf course with Peggy.
Has a CD player, the AM, FM, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
No room for a TV, but you can get all the Toronto Maple Leaf games on.
This is a company I work for, Western Golf Car.
And the boys from Timmins.
Frank's back.
That's why they call him the Big M. Okay. That's why they call him the Big M. Always got the good nickname, didn't he?
Hold up the camera.
Oh, how did that stay out?
To put in the camera.
How did that stay out?
Oh, good 3, Peter.
Thank you. That's a buck from everybody, including the camera guy.
Beautiful Avondale Golf Club, Palm Desert, California.
Just west of where Jim Pappin lives in Palm Springs, you'll find one of California's many wind farms. Thousands of huge windmills providing cheap, natural alternatives for creating energy. We'll be back with more Maple Leaf America from the All-Star game right after this. What do they call them, the Galactics?
Yeah, you see, because you can see your reflection in them. It's for the vain hockey player.
You're right. Welcome back to Maple Leaf America. Tim Robbins, star of Shawshank Redemption.
Hello, Toronto.
The Bull Durham. And have you been in a hockey movie? And why not? You're a huge hockey fan.
No.
Why?
I think there's only been 2 hockey movies.
Well, there's only been one in most people's books.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. That's true.
You know what that is.
I know what that is.
Any interest in ever doing one?
I'd love to do it. The story's got to be right, you know.
What about writing it yourself?
I'm working on it, maybe 10 years down the road.
All right, you're a Rangers fan. Eastern Conference. I know we're kind of it could come down to a battle later.
Well, you know, I'm going to be pulling for it, but I like your team.
You do?
I do. I like all the original 6. You know, if they find themselves down the road in the playoffs, I'm always going to pull for original 6.
Do you think you could pull an all-time favorite Maple Leaf out of the hat?
He's here.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's here.
Mahovlich.
Peter Mahovlich. Frank Mahovlich. Peter didn't play for us. Frank did.
Oh, but Peter's here.
Peter's here.
Yeah.
His little brother.
Ah.
You like Peter?
Well, I like all those Mahovliches.
You do? You like
mainly because I can pronounce the name.
All right.
And I feel self-important.
Well, we've got a lot. We've got a lot of old Maple Leafs right now talking about being Maple Leafs. Each week on Maple Leaf America, we meet and learn about a former Maple Leaf living in the United States. The lifestyles, personalities, and histories cover hockey's spectrum. We started with Johnny McMillan in Boise, Idaho. Only 68 games played for Toronto, but 2 cups.
That was the first time, of course, Toronto had the cup in a long time, and they had the parade, and they had all these convertibles, and each person sat in a convertible by themselves, and there were more people at that parade than there were when the Queen came to visit Canada. That was pretty awesome. This is 2 rings in one. In the first year we won it, this is the size of the ring, and then the next year, when we came back in the fall, they took the rings back, and they enlarged the diamond and put the other year on. Whereas now, everybody gets a new ring every year. Tim Ecclestone never won a cup. He did play 11 seasons in the NHL, 2 with Toronto, before retiring in Atlanta and opening a successful bar and grill business.
The whole thing about the Toronto Maple Leafs, just being part of that and walking those hallways and seeing the people that I used to listen to on radio, watch on TV, their pictures on the wall, and even going back to the closing of Maple Leaf Gardens, the history of that building. And then I went to the All-Star game in Toronto. I didn't really go and watch much of the game. I wandered the hallways, and I just looked at the history of the game and all those veterans and those teams that won the Stanley Cups. And probably that's the part that I remember, just being part of that whole organization for such a short period of time. But, you know, at least I was a Maple Leaf for a while.
Randy Wood will be our only American-born former Leaf featured this season. He shares a special perspective on playing in Toronto.
After being in Canada and playing in Canada for the Toronto Maple Leafs, you get a real appreciation of how truly big the Maple Leafs are. I always tell people that next time the Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup, they're basically going to shut the country down because, you know, and people are here in New York are like, oh no, the Yankees are, you know, there's no way you could have a better fan than the Yankee fan. I'm like, you know what, as great as the Yankee fans are here, the Maple Leaf fans are just that much more devoted to their team, that much more crazy about hockey. Johnny Wilson is a Red Wings legend, but he's an Ontario-born. He played 73 games with Toronto, and he loved his time at the Gardens.
I enjoyed Toronto. Played with some great hockey players. Johnny Bauer, a great goaltender, and you know, you're looking at Timmy Horton and Alan Stanley and Bobby Bond and Carl Brewer. You know, George Armstrong, the chief, and I played with Bird Olmsted and Bobby Pulford, who's still in hockey in Chicago, and I certainly enjoyed playing with those players, and you know, they were a great bunch of guys. And the one year we ended up against the Montreal Canadiens in the finals. They beat us out, and I saw the Rocket score his last goal against Johnny Bauer, rounding the net and putting it in the backhand in the top corner.
In future weeks, fans will hear from more former Leafs. Larry McIntyre only spent 41 games in the show, all with Toronto in the early 70s.
It's pretty awe-inspiring when you walk into, especially as a 20-year-old walking into Maple Leaf Gardens with the history that's just in that building alone, let alone running into players that have since retired, like Johnny Bauer was still around there at that time and did a lot of stuff for the club, and you hear about Clancy and Bauer and all of these guys. You just walk around the building and look at pictures and think, God, I can't believe that I'm in this building with all these great people that have been here before me. And it was a experience that I would not ever forget the rest of my life.
Even one of the NHL's top coaches will reminisce. Joel Quenneville was the Leafs' first-round pick in 1978.
Walking into the Garden and watching, or sitting up there, and you could see Harold and King Clancy watching practice was always something special, because you're always watching, and on Hockey Night in Canada, and you can see them in their box there in the corner, and you have the memories of just being out there. Roger, the one night was when Roger had to come out where nobody knew who the coach was going to be. I remember that game, and we had you had sit as your captain. It was always special. We had great leaders on that team too, and I felt being around those guys, learning from them. Pretty good team too, and Ian Turnbull on the fence, and I spent some time with, I remember Jerry Butler and Jimmy Jones, and we have a lot of guys that I can remember. Mike Palmatier was one who used to play cards with Palmy all the time, and he used to tell some good stories. And still run into Palmy once in a while now and again.
Well, from some Leafs old-timers to a current Leaf and all-star, by the way, Tomas Kaberle. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good so far.
What do you think of this first all-star thing?
It's pretty exciting, and I never expect I'll be here the young, and I appreciate it, and looking forward to it, that's for sure.
Boy, not too bad. You go from Cujo, regular season, and then when you go to the Olympics for the Czech Republic, you've got Dominik Hasek, who you also have in this game.
Yeah, they both are good goalies, and I think it's going to be lots of rivalry between those guys, and not only those two guys, Cujo, Hasek, and Salo, and all these guys, they're great goalies, and lots of teams going to depend on goalies. That's on the first standpoint too. That's for sure.
This game will be wide open and just a lot of fun and a lot of offense. But are you looking ahead at all the Olympics? Are you starting to think about that big defending the title?
Actually, last couple of days it's getting closer. So lots of guys talking in the locked dressing rooms and stuff. So it's getting exciting more and more. And I think after the All-Star break, it's gonna get more exciting. That's for sure too.
Tomas, talk about the Leafs defensemen. It's been an area that's been criticized maybe over the last 3-4 years, but it sounds like things are maybe coming together here for the Blue Liners.
I think we had pretty good years when I was there in the last 3 years, and we didn't get all the way. So hopefully we'll get all the things together. We did especially last 2 years against Jersey, and hopefully we'll go all the way.
Thank you, Tomas.
Thanks.
Enjoy the All-Star game.
Yeah.
We'll be back with more Maple Leaf America right after this. Back on Maple Leaf America in Los Angeles, in actually Hollywood. Each and every week, we take you to an interesting area in the region in which we're shooting the program. And this week, it just so happens we're in Hollywood. Hollywood. What's it really like? Believe it or not, Hollywood Boulevard was actually paved before 1900. It was the centerpiece of a prospering agricultural community established by H.H. Wilcox and his wife before the turn of the last century. Pavement is where modern comparisons end. People-wise, it's gone from Indians to Spanish settlers to American entrepreneurs to the wonderful, weird, and wacky.
It's a pretty unique lifestyle, I'd say. The weather is great. Things to do around the city, social life is very fun. I'm a director, so business-wise, this is pretty much where I need to be. So that's why I moved down here.
The first movie studio opened in 1911. By the 30s, Hollywood and the cinema boomed. By the 50s, all aspects of the entertainment industry were moving to Hollywood.
I drove here from New York about 8 months ago, and it was pretty rough when I got here, but I'm here to stay right now, you know. It's all good. It's all good in Hollywood. It's the land of the dreams. Yeah, we gotta be careful. It's kind of rough out here, you know. A lot of people want to take advantage of you and stuff.
Shady, despicable. Terminology in showbiz as common as fabulous, gigantic. Thumbs down are as common as thumbs up in theaters and on the street.
My dad brought us here when I was 2 to be a rock star. Didn't end up happening, but I don't like Hollywood. I think it's disgusting, and I want to move.
I don't live in Hollywood, but my best friend lives in Hollywood, so I'm here nearly every day. And Hollywood's just a crazy place. You have crackheads, you have drunks, you have crazy taxi drivers, you have people in California who don't know how to drive. And it's just fun to come here and like see if you can get through the day.
Naturally, every town or area that is a tourist attraction is hiding its less desirables. And Hollywood is just that, a tourist attraction. Studios, theme parks, historical buildings, all beckoning the wide-eyed visitor.
Hollywood is beautiful. I live here 12 years and I like it here. So many people around. It's very beautiful weather. People goes in laughing and very strange people, sometimes strange people coming to us. I like it, Hollywood. I don't know why, but I like it.
For those wanting to quit work, pack up, and move to chase Hollywood dreams,
Every flavor of whatever you could expect, it's all here, especially at night.
it's a big, glamorous part of a big, big city, overwhelmed by traffic, with any big city's treats and tribulations.
I knew people coming out, my brother, and a lot of other people from school, from Chicago and stuff. And Hollywood's just, there's nowhere else like it. I mean, you got the beach right there, you got the business here. It's good stuff.
Tell you what, it's quite an affair here at the All-Star Game, and of course the head man of the NHL, Gary Bettman. How's it going?
It's going great. We're off to a terrific start for All-Star Weekend. The celebrity game is going to be very well attended. Fantasy opened with over 12,000 people on a Wednesday night in LA. It's a great start.
I was going to say, a lot of the attention this weekend, of course, it's Super Bowl Sunday, but boy, the NHL as usual. Great events, great parties, and not taking a backseat to anyone.
We're not feeling like we're taking a backseat, and we shouldn't. We're having our usual complement of guests. We've credentialed more media this year than last year. The building's going to be full, and everybody's pumped for a great weekend. We're thrilled.
And of course, we're not taking a backseat to anyone because Maple Leaf America has a lot more coming up.
I love that show.
Yeah, Maple Leaf America.
It's great.
Thank you very much. We've got a lot of good
seriously, it's a terrific show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We've got a lot of good stuff. We're going to talk to another old-timer. Yeah, see, he knows what he's talking about. Stay with us. We got more coming up. Back on Maple Leaf America with the boss, Pat Quinn. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Another All-Star game. What is a Scotty Bowman and you every single time?
Well, he's been here 33 times. I've been here 3 times, so it just happens that he's been the opposition coach each time. We're 1-1 now, so it's I figure it's my turn.
Do you actually do any coaching? I mean, do you tweak lines, or are you playing around, or what's going on there?
There's not much done, really. You can put the lines together, which we'll probably do. I'll sit down with Robbie Fatorik, who is with me here, and we'll figure out how to play the lines. And once they start going, we most likely just roll them. Although I watched Scotty, he cut the bench in Toronto to try to win the game. So
obviously, a lot of Canadians on the North American squad. Do we get a little preview of the Olympics? Try to get some line combos there, maybe?
Yeah, the Canadians will play together. That's most likely. And as a result, the Americans will play together.
When you first came to Toronto, you said the whole idea and the goal obviously was to get the cup back to Toronto. Where are we there? Are we getting You feel comfortable getting close?
We're working at it. I wish I could make absolute promises in this business. It's I'd have to borrow Johnny Carson's big Swami hat to do that. We're working hard on it.
Last thing, Tomas Kaberle, we talked to him. Your D, we're looking for depth there the last couple of years. Boy, they've stepped up. Your blue line.
Well, we think we got some good young guys here. We also needed to add up front because, you know, we haven't had lots coming through our system. So we ended up switching a guy we liked an awful lot to help us up front, Markov. But we like our young guys, and our older guys aren't so old they can't play anymore. So they're pretty good right now, and they've improved as the season went on.
Remember Duke Edmundson?
I do.
He's living down in SoCal here, living the good life.
Yeah, he's always been searching for that good life, and I think he's found it.
Here he is.
For a guy who only played 43 games in the National Hockey League, it seems everyone from the day remembers Gary Duke Edmundson. Maybe because he was active in junior and pro hockey for 16 years. Or maybe Duke was simply hard to forget.
One of the prominent players for the Leafs in this first period.
Well, my dad, who was a good hockey player, and he had a hero that I think played around Edmonton, and his name was Duke Keats. And my dad stuck me with that nickname, and it's always seemed to have stuck with me. Even when I retired from hockey and went into business, I always introduced myself as Gary, and sooner or later, Duke came out, and, and it was back to Duke, and so, which was fine. It was fine.
As a 19-year-old in 1952, Duke found his way into the Montreal Canadiens lineup for a grand total of 3 games.
My biggest thrill, and it may not seem much to a lot of guys that played, but was when I played those 3 games with Canadians, one at the end of the season and 2 in the Stanley Cup playoffs against Boston. And there was another guy that I was really a hero. He was my hero, and that was Milt Smith. And I beat him twice off the face-off. And I was thrilled. And to show you what a classy guy he was, he says, "Nice going, kid." So that was class.
That was it, until 8 years and 6 leagues later, Edmundson found himself back in the NHL, this time with the Leafs at the Gardens.
It was awesome to me. I mean, it was history in the making. I mean, you just looked at that ice and you thought of all the guys that were playing there before, like Teeter Kennedy and Sil Apps, and those guys were my heroes. And now I get the chance to go out on the ice and skate on the same ice that they skated on.
How does one make his way back to the bigs after 7 years elsewhere? Superior training, possibly?
What training? No, the training wasn't much. I mean, when you left at the end of the season, they said, "See you next year at training camp." And in fact, the year that I went to Toronto and went to training camp was the first year that they tried to do something different. And they took our keys to our car away so that we had to walk from the hotel to the rink for practice. And also we started doing some calisthenics, which was different. I'd never done any calisthenics before. And I think what happened is they got that from the Russians. But, you know, today, you know, when I went to Toronto and saw the new dressing rooms at where the Leafs are playing now, and they got a gym there. And they were telling me that the guys, after they play in a game, they get on the bike and ride for a half an hour. Well, believe me, it has changed. And much to the better. The guys are in much better shape today than we ever were.
Not unlike many who grew up in Western Canada during the original 6, Duke worshipped the Maple Leafs. Eventually making the team's roster as a 27-year-old surpassed his dreams.
Well, you're in awe because, you know, you're around players that you've saw on TV and you read about them in the paper, and now you're working out with them and playing with them, and that starts really at training camp. So you sort of get used to it by the time you get there, but just playing in your first game was a thrill that I don't think any Canadian kid
would forget.
Edmundson picked up some plum assignments during his limited time in the NHL, like challenging, or covering, or keeping an eye on Gordie Howe.
My job was to shadow him at Maple Leaf Gardens. And Johnny Wilson, who had played for Detroit, was with us. And he said, whatever you do, Duke, he says, don't get the guy mad. Just skate with him, but don't try to hit him or slash him or anything. And that's what I did, and he still got a goal, but still, hold him to one goal I thought was great.
Here I go. In the corner, coming up, that's his own blue line at center, goes over the Canadian line, still stick handling with it, tried a shot, ran into the Canadian player, and Johnson.
I've got to be dead by now. Playing in the Stanley Cup Finals against Montreal in 59-60, you know, though we lost in 4 games, it was a real thrill. And it was a real thrill for me because I got to play on a line with Red Kelly and Frank Mahovlich. And, of course, they're both in the Hall of Fame, and I'm in Southern California. Maybe I got the better part of it, I don't know. But it was a thrill playing with those two guys, let alone a thrill playing against, I think this was the last game that the Rocket played. And there were some great players in Montreal, too.
Edmundson spent most of the 1960-61 season in Rochester of the American League. The young man then headed west.
The next year I went to training camp. I had a real bad groin, and so I ended up, they sending me to Rochester. So I finished Rochester, and then I really decided that I was going to retire because I had really a good job with Molson's as a public relations guy in Edmonton. And I got a call from a chap by the name of Coley Hall, and he said that he was starting a team in San Francisco and wanted to know if I would play and could I get my release from Leafs and so forth. And I called up Punch, who I got along very good with, and I said, Punch, you know, this is a chance for me to go to San Francisco in California. I said, I'd like to go, so don't hold this guy up by asking, you know, money or a player for me. And Punch says, go ahead.
3 years with the San Francisco Seals of the old Western Hockey League, and Duke was done, but not forgotten.
Yeah, it's amazing. Here it is 40-some years later, and still get inquiries for your autograph.
Duke is hard to forget.
Well, they love the Kings here in Los Angeles, but it's not the only hockey hotspot in Southern California. In fact, there's quite a winning tradition down the highway a few miles in San Diego. Check out the Gulls.
Old hat for the San Diego Gulls. They've won 4 of a possible 6 Taylor Cups since the West Coast Hockey League busted on the scene in 1995.
We average on the weekends 8,000 to 10,000, and there's a lot of things going on at the game, and you know, we play entertaining hockey, and you know, we don't trap, we never trap, and you know, that's one of the things in the NHL. They have to do that. Guys have to protect their jobs, but we want to hit, we want to play hard, we want to play physical, and we want to score goals.
Prior to overwhelming success at the AA level, the Gulls played in the International Hockey League, and prior to that, the old Western League. Much of what still attracts players today brought early hockey nomads in the 60s and 70s.
I was playing here in Los Angeles with the Los Angeles Blades from 1961 to 67, and then I went down to San Diego and played with the Gulls for 7 years, and really enjoyed it. I eventually made San Diego my home, still live there now, and still follow the Gulls, but they were seven of the greatest years that I had played.
The IHL Gulls never won a title. The current Gulls are one of the favorites to win the WCHL again. Often heard at this level, the championship is won in the off-season with recruiting.
Initially, I did want to come to San Diego. My wife grew up in Poway. We met at school at Ohio State, and I said, hey, there's an opportunity. I might be able to play in San Diego, and she wanted to teach here, so it just worked out great. You golf all year round, and we got the zoo here, and SeaWorld, just there's so many things to do. There's not enough time to do it during the season, so lucky enough I get to live here all year round. You know, you win for, 6 or 7 seasons, and it's not hard for Coach Martinson to get guys to come in here and play, so we usually get the pick of the crop.
The WCHL's leading scorer so far this season left success in the higher-profile East Coast League to join Coach Martinson out west.
First and foremost, you want to be on a winning team, because when a team wins, you're going to be happy. And San Diego's got a great winning tradition around here, and I knew they were going to do their best to win another cup. So that's probably my first reason for coming. And then obviously you have so much to do here in San Diego, the great weather, and you have the beach. So that was probably the second reason.
Thing was, when I was playing there, we averaged about 9,500 per game. And now they're, on the weekends they sell out, and I think they're up around 6,000 to 7,000, which is real good.
The West Coast Hockey League needs more teams. With only 8 clubs, the players see a lot of one another. More teams to play, and more teams to help stop hockey's strongest current dynasty.
When we come back on Maple Leaf America, we'll leave the media throng here in the dressing room, and we'll spread out and enjoy ourselves a little bit by traveling. Stay with us. Maple Leaf America at the All-Star Gala in Los Angeles. We've had a great time. We've traveled around Southern California. We've been to Hollywood, and we've met a lot of wonderful people. In fact, each and every week on our regular half-hour Maple Leaf America, we travel all over the United States and meet a lot of great people during our travelogue segments. Here's a sample of what you've seen and what you will see in the future.
Who actually said gold in them thar hills? May have been the Californians or miners in the Yukon, but it also very well could have been heard in North Carolina 203 years ago.
In 1799, a 12-year-old boy who went fishing here in this creek, Little Meadow Creek, actually accidentally ran across a 17-pound gold nugget. Didn't know what it was, so his family used it for a doorstop for 3 years.
The Reed Mine is a cool place, literally, to take the family. As for the educational experience, Susan Smith will make sure you leave well informed.
On the back right-hand corner will be the bottom of Linker Shaft. What you'll be able to see back there is the kibble or bucket that would have been used not only to haul out the rock, but also in order to get the miners to and from work each day. That would have been their elevator. You end up with some good quartz. What you'll have your tunnel looking like is this, which is the beginning of vein 4. You'll notice rather oddly that the walls are tilted. All of the veins of quartz in this part of North Carolina form at a 30 to 45 degree angle.
Hopefully the video does justice for this breathtaking view of the Snake River Canyon. Lewis and Clark did their best to avoid it. Evel Knievel tried to jump it. And now this 80-mile stretch of river belongs to the birds, literally. Hawks, falcons, eagles, you name it. This is part of the World Center for Birds of Prey natural habitat. You may have heard of the Peregrine Fund, International Save the Raptors organization. It's headquartered right here in Boise. Watch this.
Poachers, power lines, and pesticides. 3 big reasons for the Peregrine Fund. Established in 1970 by falconer Tom Cade, the fund successfully saved the peregrine falcon, removed from the endangered species list in 1999. In the mid-19th century, the state of New York gave the city of New York eminent domain, the right to acquire land deemed necessary for a great park in the center of Manhattan. Wealthy landowners and merchants had decided New York needed a world-class park on the scale of those in London and Paris. The rich needed a scenic place for carriage rides, and the working class needed a happy alternative to saloons. The plan included land between 5th and 8th Avenues, east to west, and 59th Street and 106th Street, south to north. The resident Irish pig farmers and German gardeners were given the boot. Work started in 1853. 20,000 laborers would landscape and eventually plant 270,000 trees and shrubs. In 1863, the northern boundary was expanded to its current limit at 110th Street.
I'm standing in front of the world's largest tire, which I think right now just happens to be the world's coldest tire also. It's about 87 feet high. It belongs to Uniroyal, which belongs to the Michelin Corporation, and it has quite an interesting history. Watch this.
Uniroyal calls it their roadside icon. No doubt about that. An 8-story, 12-ton icon. Big and tough on nails. Tough on arrows also. About 100 have been pulled from its hide over the years. Apparent amateur archers hoping to pop the beast. Good luck, knuckleheads. This tread is made of fiberglass.
We'll also do a facelift on the outside of the tire and make it, more beautiful to the eye. The ground around the tire will be redone, and new fencing, new landscaping. In other words, a total makeover. After 30 years in the weather, it's time.
A minute forever trapped in time. At 9:01 a.m. on April 19th, 1995, life in Oklahoma City seemed normal. At 9:03 a.m., the dust settled, and life would never be the same. Those who enter through these gates of time need be prepared. It's overwhelming.
This is the most moving, hollow place I've ever been. It's amazing. It's a graveyard for 168 people. It's an amazing place. It's baffling.
The now second largest terrorist attack in U.S. history claimed the lives of dozens of moms, dads, brothers, sisters, aunts and uncles, and 19 children. An empty chair represents each and every life lost, lined up across 9 rows, representing the 9 floors of the building. It's the Jefferson National Expansion Memorial, a.k.a. the Arch. Hard to believe looking at it. Visitors can ride up the arms 630 feet to the top.
This is a national memorial, national monument that is astounding, I think, because it was unique in the way that it was built, and it's also like a piece of artwork, a piece of outdoor sculpture. So it's an engineering feat, it's a construction feat, and it's also like a piece of art.
Depending on where you stand, optical illusions abound. The arch's legs actually stand the exact same distance apart as the arch is high. In other words, width and height are the same.
Just a few minutes left in the special All-Star edition of Maple Leaf America, but we got some very cool stuff. In fact, we're going to talk to the ultimate Hockey Hall of Famer, and we'll have some goofy stuff, as if it hasn't been kind of goofy already. Stay with us. Maple Leaf America from the Staples Center, and the All-Star Gala continues. Well, no better way to wrap up the All-Star special than to speak with Mr. Hockey, who happened to be in 23 All-Star games. How you doing?
29 total altogether, and
yeah?
If you count Pee Wee, no, I'm doing well. I didn't see much of the game. I was
right
with the bobbleheads, so but they were for what they're supposed to be. They say thank you to the people for the holders up in the boxes. So it's a thank you.
And you do a lot of that. I mean, still spend a lot of time with the fans.
Yeah, I enjoy that. I just thank God. Maybe it's the fact that I was one of 9 children. Is that, and then there would have been 11. The twins died apparently, and I never knew that till a couple of years ago. But
really?
Just being among people all the time, it leads for a different view on life, and I guess that's why I say a lonely child has an awful time. I can't think to believe it.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite memory at all as a player in one of these All-Star games?
Yeah, all of them. But I think the best one ever was the first one. You can never ever forget the first one. And I got an experience, and I got into a fight. It was real hockey, and it's not like fun like you saw here tonight. It's the games they're a threat, and then they went to all different menus. We'd play against the Stanley Cup champions the rest of the league, and I enjoyed it. Immensely. But then the first one I played was Marty Mark as professionals, and played in the All-Star game. That was something to remember too.
Well, guess where we're going next week?
We're
going next week. You're going to Detroit.
You're going good.
We're going to Detroit.
Don't get lost. It's fun.
I know it's a dangerous place sometimes.
No.
No, it's a good place, isn't it? Hockey town.
They're all good. It's where you go.
Right, it's where you go.
I see you can find trouble all over the world.
That's right, you're right.
Yeah.
Maple Leaf America next week from Detroit. There he
That
is.
sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
These gloves are ridiculous.
Hey?
These gloves.
The respect.
It has quite a history. Watch this.
Freeze it.
Freeze it.
Why did you marry this guy?
Shouldn't have. Oh no, is it really rolling?
Yeah. Good night, Cheryl.
Money.
3, 2, and 1.
Hey, I went to the camp with the Leafs in '95, and they put me with Sundin and Domi. I don't know what happened after that.
Thank you very much. 3, 2, and 1. Here we are in South Carolina, baby. What's that like?
Beautiful South Carolina. It's great here. I've been all over the place in different places looking. And can we start again?
Yeah. 3. I got a couple coming. You guys all right? You're all right. Who am I? Should I do a little Hanson Brothers, Dave Carlson on somebody? Yeah, I'm not out of shape. Keep telling myself that, hey?
How about those Diamondbacks? Yankees, baby! Yankees! Go Yankees! They better go back to the Bronx, baby! How about those Diamondbacks?
All right, Ralph. 3, 2, and 1. I'm standing in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is too cold. I can't say Brooklyn.
You look small compared to it, but it's good.
Where do you want me?
Right there.
Any,
Your sweater's good.
Go for it.
Do you want the witch? Wait for the witch? It's moving quick, baby. Here we go.